My name is Kevin. I've been in SAPA for 5 years.
I talk about what SAPA is.
Yeah. SAPA is Sexual Aggression Peer Advocates. We run a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week confidential crisis line for survivors, family, friends, anyone affected by sexual aggression, which is sexual assault, sexual harassment, stalking, domestic dating violence. We give educational programs like this one. We also are in charge of No Zebras for freshman orientation. Did I miss anything? Okay. I'm going to hand off to Lindsay. You can go ahead and get started.
Okay. I'm just going to, yeah, I'm going to sit. Okay. To begin, since this is the part of the training that we're doing, it'd be good to have some definitions for what we're talking about. So I have made a handout for you. Can I go along with everything else?
Handout.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Okay. That way I can tell you what it is. I can tell you what it is, and then you have it for reference. So what is sexual assault? There's a lot of misconceptions about what it actually means, so we'll clarify that sexual assault is any time anyone does anything of a sexual nature. It is any time anyone does anything of a sexual nature, including but not necessarily limited to penetration. I have a lot of other examples of what that includes on here. Without the expressed consent, which means a verbalized yes, of the other person involved. These acts can occur by force, threat, coercion, surprise, intimidation, or by taking advantage of someone their helplessness or their inability to give consent. If someone's under the influence of drugs or alcohol, there's no such thing as consent. If someone is unconscious or sleeping, there's no such thing as consent. One of the myths surrounding this is that often it's like a stranger, and more times than not, the person is pretty familiar with the person. So right off the bat, it's important to know that it doesn't matter if the individual had consenting sex, even 400 times in the past. If they had, 400 times of the 401 time, 401st time, if they choose not to have sex, then and the other person continues anyway, then that is sexual assault. We have statistics that show that 85% of women who are sexually assaulted are assaulted by someone she knows. We don't have the same data on males, but we assume it's just a fact. And as far as the GLBT community goes, the data that we have says that 1 in 3 lesbians and 1 in 10 gay males will be assaulted in his or her lifetime. One of the common problems, or one of the problems with additional problems for GLBT and sexual assault is that obviously if somebody isn't even out, it's going to be that much harder to come forward. So it's going to be even lower. And then I'll give you the opportunity to ask some questions at the end because there's more information besides just this. This is pretty much the basics. But then there's also sexual harassment, which is also something that you may come across. And the definition for that is unwanted sexually oriented behavior in a work or educational setting. There's a few different kinds. One is quid pro quo, which quid pro quo, which means this for that. I'm going to give you an A in the class if you'll do this, for me, or that kind of thing. And there's a more specific definition there. There's also the hostile or offensive work environment or educational environment. So if somebody is repeatedly asking, either asking for sexual favors or making sexual innuendos, and this is unwanted and has been expressed that it's unwanted, then that qualifies as that. There's also sexual favoritism is another way that I didn't list on here that qualifies as sexual harassment. And it's important to know that if somebody comes to you, so what to do if you're confronted with either of these situations. Since we're on sexual harassment, I'll do that one first, and then I'll go back up to sexual assault. If somebody comes to you and says that they're experiencing sexual harassment, the best thing to do, you need to know first off if they've made it clear that this is unwanted. That's the first step. They need to have told the person to stop. It's important that they document how often this is happening, like obtain a written record. And the more evidence they have that this is going on, the better it'll be. And then if that's something that's happening at the university with a teacher or somebody, an employee or something like that, there are all kinds of resources available, and you can call us and we can give you the information as far as which offices to contact, Office of Student Life, and again, right, yeah, Affirmative Action Office, so, and we'll get you that information. That's sexual harassment. With sexual assault, if somebody comes to you and something has happened, Chris is going to go into exactly what to do in that specific encounter, how to respond to someone who has survived something like that. In terms of where to go, we would love to give you the 50 hours of training so that you're totally armed. Since we can't do that in this one night, we're going to ask that you just refer them to us, or if they feel more comfortable having you make the call to us, that's fine too. And then we can take it from that point. Is there anything, does anybody have any questions? Anything that you want me to additionally say to them?
The number would probably be good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be wonderful. It's 774 CALL, which is 2255. And it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We will be there 2 days.
Another statistic that goes along, particularly with sexual assault, is that we found that the majority of the time that something like this happens is if the person is known, and the length of time that it happens is 1 year. And when you think about that, people that you know and have in your life for a year, that constitutes a relationship. That trust is built there. And so one of the things we're going to talk about is how, within these relationships, how these things happen and the type of factors that go into that, so that you can see some of these danger signs maybe and help people out before things happen. A lot of times, even people who are trained to look for these things don't see them. But these are some things that we found that are helpful, some things that will, one, just make for healthy relationships, and also can help prevent some of these nasty things from happening.